The ability of nations to transport products has determined their rise or collapse throughout history. Roads were constructed by the Romans. The waters were dominated by the British. Additionally, a few enormous ports serve as the lifelines of international trade in the modern economy. The Netherlands' Rotterdam, the biggest port in Europe and one of the busiest in the world, sits at the top of this list. It is more than just a point of entry to the continent. It serves as the main center for the transportation of minerals, food, energy, and digital infrastructure to the 450 million consumers in the EU. Greetings from Powerless, where we unravel the secrets of world wealth, one change and power at a time. We're learning why Canada is forming an alliance with the Netherlands and why the United States is unable to stop it in today's video. Trade is only one aspect of this partnership. This collaboration is reshaping supply chains, revolutionizing food security, advancing digital connection, and supplying energy for tomorrow's clean energy markets. You're at the perfect place if you're curious about the tactics influencing the future of the energy, technology, food, and financial sectors. The most important decisions of tomorrow are already being made today, so subscribe to Capitalist right now. Despite its tiny size, the Netherlands has a huge impact on trade. The largest port in Europe, Rotterdam is home to a complex of refineries, terminals, and logistics hubs, so large that it handles over 30,000 ships annually. A significant portion of Europe's consumer goods and about 1/3 of its crude oil pass via this one port. Goods are transported from Rotterdam to Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and all of the major European economies via train, road, and river. This is a historic chance for Canada. Canadian goods, such as cobalt, wheat, and liquefied natural gas, can easily enter the European market by establishing direct connections with Rotterdam. Chains. Ottawa no longer has to rely entirely on the U.S. as its Atlantic go-between. Rather, it acquires the capacity to transport resources directly to the center of Europe. Washington has long believed that U.S. ports and logistics infrastructure would be essential to North American exports. However, Rotterdam provides Ottawa with an alternative to that reliance. Canada presents itself as more than just the northern neighbor of the United States by collaborating with the Netherlands. Neighbor. It develops as a worldwide provider with a separate, autonomous link to European customers. Logistics is more than just moving boxes because of this. It has to do with geopolitics. The flow of wealth itself is controlled by whoever controls the trade gateways. And through Rotterdam, Canada is currently subtly asserting its claim. Canada's wide Pacific and Atlantic coastlines have traditionally presented both opportunities and challenges. The Atlantic. The nation is situated at the intersection of international shipping. However, historically, a large portion of that traffic has gone via U.S. middlemen. However, Ottawa is currently acting to alter that. On the Atlantic side, ports in Halifax and Montreal are being modernized to accommodate larger ships and more cargo. Halifax in particular has been promoted as Europe's deepwater entry point, able to accommodate the biggest cargo ships currently in use. Halifax is quickly becoming a transatlantic twin to the biggest port in Europe thanks to direct shipping routes to Rotterdam. Further north, however, is where the true game changer is. The opening of shipping lanes due to climate change and the melting of Arctic ice could cut journey times from Canada to Europe and Asia by up to 40%. This indicates that Canadian ports are not just nearer to Europe than their American counterparts, but possibly more affordable and quicker as well. Canada is creating a trade route that avoids the U.S. by integrating Rotterdam's distribution network with its Atlantic port improvements. In international trade, the U.S. continues to have a significant amount of power. However, Ottawa will get some degree of autonomy if it is successful. In contemporary history, no Canadian leader has had such pleasure. For Washington, this signifies not only rivalry, but also a gradual deterioration of its historical function as the sole international commerce gateway in North America. The Netherlands is the world's second largest exporter of agricultural products behind the United States, despite being a smaller country than the Canadian province of Nova Scotia. Technology is its secret. Dutch farmers are experts at precision irrigation, hydroponics, vertical farming, and high-tech greenhouses. Almost no other nation on Earth produces more food per square meter than they do. The land and raw materials, however, are in Canada. The prairies are covered with vast wheat fields, and the country's agricultural industry is designed to supply both domestic and international markets. However, Canada has never been able to get the most out of its harvests, and it frequently exports raw materials instead of completed items. Together, the two nations produce the ideal synergy. The raw agricultural basis, water, and land are all provided by Canada. Access to markets, infrastructure, and science are all provided by the Netherlands. When combined, they can guarantee food security in a world that is becoming more and more challenged by drought, political unrest, and climate change. This collaboration does more than lessen reliance on American agri-giants like Archer-Daniels, Midland, and Cargill. It establishes a different paradigm in which Canada and the Netherlands provide Europe with both the final high-tech agriculture solutions and the raw materials. Additionally, this alliance may have just as much influence on the global power structure in a time when food security is becoming as strategically important as minerals and oil. This collaboration does more than lessen reliance on U.S. agri-companies such as Cargill and Archer-Daniels Midland. It establishes a different paradigm in which Canada and the Netherlands provide Europe with both the final high-tech agriculture solutions and the raw materials. If oil drove the 20th century, essential minerals and renewable energy will drive the 21st. Outside of China, Canada has some of the biggest unexplored reserves of rare earth elements: nickel, cobalt, and graphite. These are the fundamental components of wind turbines, batteries, electric vehicles, and the larger clean tech sector. Although the Netherlands lacks mining, it does have infrastructure, which is just as valuable. Green hydrogen is a fuel that many countries believe is essential to decarbonizing industry, and Rotterdam is quickly becoming Europe's largest hub for it. Additionally, the Netherlands is establishing itself as the EU's refinement and distribution hub for foreign-sourced raw materials. The formula is straightforward. Canada ships, digs, and extracts. The Netherlands distributes, refines, and processes. By working together, they can lessen Europe's reliance on U.S. supply chains and challenge China's hegemony in vital minerals. This presents a significant obstacle for Washington, which has attempted to establish itself as the vital link in the mineral and energy flows in the West. The route between Canada and the Netherlands isn't regarding the energy requirements of today. It concerns the electricity grid, automobiles, and digital economy of the future. Furthermore, the nation that assists Europe in obtaining those inputs will acquire political clout that is significantly greater than the value of the minerals. Ottawa is aware of this. The Hague does too, and collectively, they're taking action before Washington has a chance to adapt. Today's trade involves more than just food, minerals, and oil. Data is becoming more and more important. The unseen information flows that underpin international communications, artificial intelligence, and finance. The Netherlands is a giant once more. With some of the biggest data centers, underwater internet cables, and fintech businesses on the region, Amsterdam has emerged as Europe's digital center. Terabytes of data pass via Dutch computers every day, connecting North America and Europe, Asiatic, African, and American. In the 21st century, the person in charge of these digital choke points has just as much power as the person in charge of oil pipelines. In the meantime, Canada is establishing itself as a world leader in advanced cybersecurity, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence. Machine learning is being advanced by Canadian researchers in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. Through its connection to the Netherlands, Canada establishes a presence in the digital market of Europe while supplying unprocessed innovation that Dutch infrastructure can expand internationally. This collaboration extends below the ocean as well. Plans to diversify away from U.S.-controlled data lines include plans for new transatlantic fiber optic cables that would connect Canada and the Netherlands. If finished, these cables would transport not only financial transactions and communications, but also the vitality of the digital economy. Moving goods across the Atlantic isn't the only thing that Canada and the Netherlands do together. They're building new roads for information, creativity, and data. And that might be the most lucrative trade of all in the current economy. In addition to being a major hub for trade logistics, the Netherlands serves as the foundation for NATO's European supply chain. Dutch ports and airports are essential for transporting supplies, fuel, and equipment across the continent for forces from the United States, Canada, and Europe. NATO's staging areas include Rotterdam and Amsterdam, where commercial trade and military logistics coexist. This cooperation gives Canada more than just a business alliance. In unpredictable times, it ensures dependability and accessibility. The Netherlands gives Ottawa a safe gateway into Europe in the event of pandemics, energy shocks, or geopolitical rivalries that disrupt global supply systems. By strengthening its partnership, Canada establishes itself as more than merely an ally of the United States that uses American logistics. It directly contributes to the defense and resilience of Europe. Additionally, because NATO's logistics are so closely linked to the civilian sector, every supply chain update and container has two meanings. NATO fuel is handled at a port that also handles LNG for Europe. Critical defense supplies are transported via a rail hub that also transports minerals. Carefully worded, this is not about conflict or guns. It has to do with dependability. By investing in a logistical alliance, Canada guarantees that its resources and goods will continue to flow into Europe regardless of any global interruptions. That dependability converts into influence and long-term contracts worth billions. The Netherlands is now one of Canada's top commercial partners in Europe, as trade between the two countries has subtly increased into the billions. Two-way trade exceeded $12 billion in 2023, and estimates indicate that amount might double in the upcoming 10 years as digital services, green, hydrogen, and essential minerals gain prominence. The exports are evident from Canada's perspective. Minerals like nickel and cobalt, energy sources like uranium and LNG, and agricultural products like cereals and canola. Pharmaceuticals, logistics services, advanced machinery, and financial flows are the main exports from the Netherlands. With Dutch companies funding clean energy, the Netherlands is also one of the leading European investors in Canada. Nationwide infrastructure and shipping initiatives. Leverage, in addition to economic opportunity, is represented by every billion in new commerce. Without Washington's help, Ottawa is able to establish itself in European markets. The fact that this alliance is taking place in private without the flamboyant hoopla of political accords is what makes it so disruptive. Rather, it is being constructed by energy expenditures, data infrastructure developments, and port expansions, which collectively constitute a geopolitical realignment. This poses an issue for Washington. The United States' position as the exclusive gatekeeper of North American-European trade is eroded by each agreement Ottawa makes with Rotterdam and Amsterdam. And that change in influence becomes unavoidable as the numbers reach the tens of billions. One thing is evident as the sun sets over Rotterdam and Halifax. There is more to the Canada-Netherlands alliance than just shipping channels. It concerns who is the owner of the future's entrances. Logistics, data, food, and energy. The next 50 years of world power will be characterized by these strategic assets. This alliance represents a watershed moment for Canada. Ottawa is forging its own independent link to Europe because it is no longer satisfied with being viewed as America's resource provider. It's a chance for the Netherlands to further solidify its position as the main center of the economy of the European Union, the vital conduit for international trade. It's also a warning to Washington. Never before has America's hegemony in transatlantic trade been so subtly challenged. Instead of shouting, the Canada-Netherlands partnership builds port by port, cable by cable, and container by container. Whether this collaboration will change international trade is not the subject at hand. It is already. How far it will go and whether the U.S. can adjust before losing control over the trade routes it formerly dominated are the true questions. This is just the beginning of the tale of global wealth in motion. If this explanation was helpful to you, check out our next video. It has a direct bearing on what is happening. Remember to subscribe as well. We can decipher these worldwide trends without compromising thanks to your backing. Tell us in the comment section. Is this the beginning of a revolution in the Western supply chain, or is it just diversification? The world is watching either way.